good, skilled, well-paid jobs all over the country. But importantly, it will unlock the dream of home ownership for far too many people that have seen it closed off to them.
That was the Housing Secretary Steve Reed talking to us on this show yesterday. Rico Wojtolowicz is Head of Policy and Market Insight at the National Federation of Builders. Morning, Rico.
Morning, Rick.
Is Mr Reed sounding realistic there?
I mean, I think his ambition is great. They're not going to deliver 1.5 million homes, and the reforms aren't really going to do anywhere near enough. But what I will say is this government have actually put in reforms that are completely different to the last one, and they have understood that planning reform isn't just the application, but it's all the other stuff that makes sure you can actually get housing across the line. But they've barely scratched the surface, if I'm honest.
What more do they need to do?
Well, look, this conversation started about viability, and I did a quick tot-up yesterday of how many different taxes and regulatory changes have been implemented. We've had 15 in the last 4 years, and when you consider it takes, 80, on a site of say 50 homes, takes 18 months to get planning and then 27 months to build it. You've already bought the land, you've already started to plan things. How can you cost for those 15 higher inflationary costs? And they're just specific to building and planning. You've got 3 other ones that are coming that are broader. Everyone has to pay. So how can they fix things? Well, they've got to first really understand what the cost of building is and how it's going up. And that it doesn't just come off the land prices, they think. It does for some of the bigger companies. If you're doing a site of 3,000, you might be able to, or 500, you might be able to get some money back off the landowner. But the government keeps sticking on costs. Recently, I was actually on the show talking about what's called the landfill tax. We were horrified to think it could add £5,000 to every home. If it goes ahead in 2030, I've seen some figures of up to £50,000 per home. And if you're in a place, especially north of the Midlands, there's nothing in the land value, and no one's going to sell their land for nothing or give it away for housing. So it is so hard.
The current planning policies, I guess, are all there from the previous government. These new ones will kick in from November. Do you expect them to make some difference?
Yeah, so there's something called the grey belt. So that's kind of not green belt, not brownfield. It's like in the middle, and it should be used. We've seen loads of applications start to come through on that. So that was a really good policy. They've reformed what's called the National Planning Policy Framework as well. That will help somewhat. But actually in 2026, all local authorities have got to have, councils have got to have what's called a local plan. So they've got to plan for how many homes in their area. So all that will help. But the first 2 years of this government is really the planning applications under the last government. So they've got to be built out first, and then we'll see what happens. But we have noticed that applications from developers are down, and that's partly because of the cost of housing and the planning system being so slow, and local authorities not wanting as many homes and not being forced to want them under the last government. So it's a bit of a tough moment for them. And I hear they're going to go back and review the National Planning Policy Framework, and that's really important, because if you're a smaller company delivering up to a site of 250 homes, you haven't really had any reforms for you yet, and there's been something called the medium-sized site which has been proposed. The government's got to really speed up with that, and those things for small and medium-sized companies, because, and this kind of feeds into everything, they train 8 in 10 construction apprentices, which means that if they don't train them, you have more reliance on immigration. They build your social housing, your housing association homes, self-build. They provide all the retrofitters and the renovations. So you've got to enable those smaller companies to start building, and they only build 9% of homes at the moment. They used to build 40%. So we've got a long way to go. They've just got to keep speaking to industry and those companies at the coal face, not the ones maybe that are really large and then subcontract all the work. And it's kind of like, it's almost like a gig economy for the employees. They've got to speak to the ones that are doing the hard work.
And just a simple yes or no, I know you mentioned this right at the very start, will they meet this 1.5 million home target by the end of this Parliament?
No. And if they can get to 300,000 by the end of the Parliament, that will be an absolutely incredible feat.
As in 300,000 a year?
A year, yeah. If they can do that in the last year of Parliament, that's where we should all say, geez, this is an amazing outcome. But 1.5 million, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
Thanks very much, Rico. Rico Wojtalowicz there, Head of Policy and Market Insight at the National Federation of Builders. 6:35.
This